there, this is Debbie Fischel, and I am here with Josh Harbrink today, who lives in Bocas del Toro. Oh, we just got a hummingbird back there behind you. And Josh is an expat living here in Panama, and we're going to find out a little bit about what he does. So tell us, Josh, where are you from and how did you end up in Panama?
Well, I'm actually from Amsterdam. I was born down there and lived in the States a bunch. I've been around a lot, traveling back and forth. I've been in Panama for a few years now, back and forth a lot between the States and here. I originally came to start an eco-adventures company out on the coast of Colón in Costa Rica, near Portobello. So I spent a good while out there bushwhacking through the jungles and getting a small business going, and eventually broke off from that and started to seek out some opportunities to actually get my own thing going here. So we've been developing a few different little projects and trying to get a good footing here and make a living of it. You know?
So why did you choose Panama? I mean, it's very different from Amsterdam, obviously.
For sure. Well, I've always had the wandering spirit. My parents traveled all over the world working for different organizations. So I've always been a restless, wandering soul, and I had actually an opportunity just to come down with a buddy and visit. So while I was down here, I met some folks, some opportunities came along, and I kind of seized that opportunity and made some big changes. I was kind of burnt out in my career I had before, so it was time to make a big change, and there was a lot of opportunity here, so I had to seize it. There
is a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Always looking for something new to get into.
Yeah.
And you're not a pensionado,
right?
I assume. So you are still having to earn some income while you're here in Panama. So what kind of opportunity did you end up falling into, and what are you doing now here in Panama that's working for you?
Well, opportunity is a big thing for folks, and a lot of people think that you can seize opportunity and be successful in it. But it's been a really rough road getting to a place where we can build towards success. So I really had to get down to the nitty-gritty and look for an opportunity to create and really take advantage of it. It took a lot of real effort and sacrifice to get that going. So originally, through my connections in the tourism industry, I started out with a small project called the Caribbean Panama Network. And that basically has been designed, it's just a website designed to promote the Caribbean coast of Panama and provide information to travelers, investors. And a lot of it has been through networking, getting to know the right people, building strong relationships, and seek out opportunities to help people grow their own businesses and grow our own. So it's really been, like you said, as an entrepreneur, just seeking any opportunity to kind of get good footing and develop and seek out needs. And there's a lot of needs in Panama just for reliable service, honesty, dependability, quality. A lot of the things that we take for granted in the US or in Europe or Canada are actually pretty rare traits here and rare products. So it's really come to a point where just focusing on the consistency and dependability and honesty and decent work ethic and reputation management is really what's gotten me to a place where it's become stable and things have actually grown and shown some good potential.
And what is it that you're actually doing in Bocas del Toro?
Right now I'm consulting to help develop an internet network out there.
Do they have good internet there?
No, Bocas del Toro has very bad internet right now.
Okay.
So there's only one point of entrance for internet service. There's a lot of businesses and there's expats that live there and work there and rely on internet, but it's very unreliable. So we are expanding a very well-established internet provider in Panama City. We're bringing that service to Bocas del Toro and building an entirely independent system that'll support all those businesses, and people are very excited about that.
So for expats that are considering moving to Panama, maybe, it used to be, from what I've been reading and hearing, it was a lot of retirees, but there's a shift now, and younger people are starting to expatriate and move to other countries. And obviously those people need to still earn income and do some kind of a job or work. So do you see a lot of opportunity in Panama for business in the technology fields and things? I mean,
I do. There's you obviously have the pensionados, which have they have a steady income, a reliable income, and they're ready to live their life out. And the location in which they do that is pretty flexible, so they can choose where they want to go in the world based on their budget. They have some flexibility, and they can live off of retirement savings, whatever they have. For younger folks who obviously don't have that retirement, they do need to seek out opportunities to try to keep a business going. And in some ways, it's just as challenging, if not more challenging, as in the States. So we don't really have an opportunity for migratory workers. You see some people that come to Panama from North America, and they're, hey, I'm looking for a job. Where can I find a job? I speak English. It's not so easy for those folks, but there are opportunities for people that are very creative and that can really seek out niche opportunities to develop business and to take on. It takes a lot of work, a lot of reputation management. I've seen people over the years come and go in 6 months to a year. A lot of people don't last. It's a lot of big challenges. You have to overcome your preconceptions when you come here from a North American or even European standard. So it's not the land of opportunity, but there is opportunity. And if you can identify niche industries and niche networks, or even create your own niches, like we did with the Caribbean Panama Network, we identified a region that really was not at all being marketed and had a huge amount of potential. And so through our own sweat and blood and our own personal time investment, we've been able to build a presence that hasn't paid off yet, but it's something that is growing, and we know that eventually here that'll get enough momentum going, and we've really seized that opportunity. So if you're just looking for a job, it's difficult to get a job in the States right now, and it's probably going to be more difficult to get a job here. There's a lot of restrictions on work permits, work visas, on the amount of employees that companies can have that are expats. So if you want to do things properly and you really want to build a good base, it's not so easy just to show up and get a job.
And I would assume there are some challenges just being in Panama. Like, for example, do you speak Spanish, and did you when you moved here? I would think that could really hinder you if you were not Spanish speaking. Is that true?
Yes, for sure. There are some communities, there's some beach communities. We're in Boquete right now, and there's folks that have been here, in Bocas even, that have been here 14, 15 years and plus and still haven't learned Spanish. So there are some ways to get around that. If you're young and you're trying to develop something and you need to rely on the local industry to develop a business, to do anything like that, you've got to get in not just learn the language, but you need to become integrated in the culture. So I had the unique opportunity of ending up in the jungles with no one speaking English and a dictionary. And I had Dutch as my original language, English as my second, so I had good language comprehension, and I learned it pretty fast comparatively. But my key was to first learn the accent, then learn the street lingo, and then learn Spanish. Yeah. And that is really what makes it possible for me to be successful with the community, because I can relate to the people that I'm dealing with. And there's people that have learned proper Spanish and still can't properly commute with Panamanians. Panamanian Spanish is very different than a lot of other Spanish. So it's not just learning the language and getting in the flow. It's really about getting into the culture, connecting with people, being approachable, and building relationships with locals as well.
Another question I have, just give me your opinion on this. For foreigners that are coming here and maybe starting a business of their own, would you recommend businesses that cater more to the expat community because maybe they are looking for that quality and reliability from back home that they had? Or do you think that in Panama, you've been here a few years, the middle class is said to be growing pretty quickly in the local communities? Is there a demand for businesses that cater to the Panamanian people as well?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely a good point on both parts. I work really with a focus on business philosophy. So I focus a lot on the philosophies that guide how I do business. And those are what we kind of take for granted as far as, you know, like I said earlier, honesty, dependability, consistency, these basic things that we kind of take for granted. And those things are really appreciated, obviously, by the expat community. And they identify that, and that word spreads very quickly. So there's a huge market there if you can identify services that people really need, that you can actually provide, That word travels very quickly in different forums and communities, and you can grow your reputation, your business very quickly. And there is also, like you said, this middle-class Panamanian group that is appreciating that higher level of service than what they're used to. It's service and productivity is a big problem here. So there are people that can afford these services, and they appreciate that on two counts, of course, for the quality of it, but there's also a certain trendiness to it. So working in marketing, Panamanian businesses are finally starting to catch on to web development and contemporary marketing approaches as far as business development, and also business practices and technologies and all these things. So there's definitely a migration of these common business practices that are coming from North America and Europe, and that are starting to really get a good foothold here. So there's still a lot of competition in these. We have a lot of people, young folks that come up, and people want to undercut prices, and there's people that have, web development. Most people can develop a WordPress website, but it takes someone with real actual ability and experience to do it properly and to really get a higher level. So you have to be careful in the services you're providing, really identify your markets, and really construct your whole approach to business around that.
So when you came up with a fee structure for your services here in Panama, were you able to do something similar to the U.S. or Europe, or because of the lower cost of living in Panama, do you have to charge less to be, within that parameter?
For what we provide, we're probably a little bit less than North America, but actually I would say it's probably not by much. So I had a lot of resistance on any project I've been involved in. This has always been a point of contention about pricing, even with the Eco Ventures business. They said Panamanians won't pay for it. You're only going to get rich expats. I had no problem with that. I had a huge amount of Panamanian clientele, no questions about pricing. I priced it at a very reasonable, internationally relevant pricing structure for our services, and people paid for it. The price is what you pay, the value is what you're getting.
Right.
And so anybody that identifies that, regardless of where they're from, and there are Panamanians that identify that now, they know that the value is what they're getting out of that, and they're willing to pay that price to get that higher level of service or product.
Right.
So it's the same thing with everything else we do. We focus on producing the highest quality that we can provide, and we price it out fairly for that. We're very transparent in how we do everything, and people appreciate that, and it's taken us somewhere. So
you're saying the old adage is true, you get what you pay for here.
I think it is.
And people appreciate that.
Yeah, we have folks that we deal with, and they come and go. They want to look for something cheaper, they get something cheaper.
Well, and that would be good for somebody moving here, because there is a lower cost of living generally here in Panama. So you're kind of making more money.
Sure, and I think what you can do is you can focus on quality. Even if you're not making more money overall, you have a lower cost of living, so you can have a relatively more decent quality of life, even if you're still just getting by as far as, if you're looking at the actual dollar comparison to the States. So you can still get by on what you might barely survive on the States, but you're actually doing a little bit better here. You're able to afford food, but the prices are moving a lot, so you have to adjust for that.
So speaking of quality of life, what is it like living in Bocas del Toro? What do you like? What do you miss?
I've only been in Bocas for a little while. I'm there specifically on a project. I started there working on it. We'll be wrapping it up in a few months, hopefully. I've lived all over Panama, multiple places on the Caribbean, Panama City. I've traveled and visited everywhere. Bocas del Toro is primarily, it's a Caribbean island town. There's a lot of surfers, backpackers. There are some nicer high-end things there. A lot of it depends on what type of environment and climate you like. My personal favorite place is Boquete. I don't like to tell too many people that, because I want people to not come here necessarily, I like that it's quiet and it's a nice environment.
And just helps at the beautiful scenery.
For sure.
All the hummingbirds behind you.
Yeah, so you happen to catch me kind of in my natural habitat, I guess, So for me, I lived in the Pacific Northwest a long time.
Okay.
I don't mind the drizzle. I like cool air. I like mountains. And a lot of people really love the beach, and they want to be out there on the beach all the time. And I love visiting it, but for me, I have that access wherever I am. Panama has such a great mix of climates and environments. From here, Boquete, you can drive an hour and a half and you're on the Pacific. You can take the shuttle, easy ride, $30 to Bocas. And, $30 to get over there. So you have that access to whatever kind of climate you want, really, and it's really convenient.
Yeah, I actually have to wear a sweater up here. I'm a little chilly.
Yeah.
But I say the same thing. It's only an hour and a half from my beach town to drive up here. And
I have the thick Dutch
something
skin, so it helps out a little bit for me. It's easy enough.
Okay, so tell me about some of your plans. Are you going to stay in Panama? Do you see a future here?
I'm a very nomadic soul, so my long-term vision for anything in my life is really to be mobile and to have bases of operation. So for me, I really want to have Panama as a base of operation because it gives me access to Latin America. Mm-hmm. So this is really an ideal place for me to have a good base and be able to travel to South America and explore and develop in different regions down there and take advantage of it. Of course, it's massively advantageous that Spanish is the language in Latin America. So to have a good base here where you can store stuff, have something going, and then reach out to the rest of Latin America is very, very beneficial for sure.
Well, it's nice to be in a place like Panama where the economy is actually growing.
Yeah.
And growing at very fast rates.
Yeah.
With the expansion of the new canal just about ready to open, it's just going to be even better.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to come and start a new business. What are a few businesses that you think, looking around, would be worth people looking into if they're thinking of moving to Panama and maybe starting a business? Not something to compete with you, but what other things do you see that you see a need for that might be worth looking into?
I would say anything in professional services is a big thing, and also training. What I think would be really good for everybody in Panama is if there was a growth in the training sector, people actually providing training services, certification services. If they can bring knowledge here, education, whether it's even at regular school levels, all the way up to professional training, professional certification, that's something that's going to really have a huge impact on not just lifestyle and business, but actually the future of Panama. Because like you're saying, there's a lot of growth. It's growing very fast, and rapid growth isn't always sustainable growth. So it's very important that we take the opportunity in this growth environment to create a strong foundation and to bring in the resources that will actually create a solid base for businesses to continue to grow and for the economy to maintain itself going forward.
Absolutely. I think you just hit the nail on the head with that one. I actually wrote an article on my blog, escapeartist.com/Panama, about trade schools being needed here, and for exactly that reason, because the growth it's not sustainable without having trained people to work in these positions.
Right.
You've got hotels opening up, you've got all these things, and they don't have trained bartenders. They need welders, carpenter, all these kinds of trades that go along with a growing economy. There's no training here for it. So I think that's fabulous if people could do something like that. Huge opportunity there.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it's not the best place for people to come just to look for a job. Mm-hmm. But if you have received training already, there's a lot of folks in the States that have already their bachelors, have degrees and certifications, and are having a hard time finding a job. If you can bring your knowledge and share your knowledge and share that with other people and train people to learn what you've already learned, then you're actually passing on something that's valuable, and you're filling a niche opportunity that's out there right now that's really needed.
Absolutely. And I remember reading that the government was even considering offering subsidies or things to help get trade schools and stuff like that opened up here, because it is needed. So that would be something worth looking into for people as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out also at this time that Josh's partner, her name is Pamela Rubio, and she's a fabulous photographer. 2 of her photographs were actually featured in the 2015 Panama calendar, which is available at panamacalendars.com. So you can go there and check that out and see her pictures. And so you've got a skilled crew there with you as well.
This leads into another very important factor. I mean, I wouldn't have what I have if it wasn't for her. We've built a lot of our things together here. She is the designer in a lot of these things we work on. I do a lot of the logistics and business development. But there's a lacking in industry here and a lacking in business networks, legitimate support services. So one of the first things that I learned here was the importance of actually building a professional environment for yourself. So you really have to identify people that reflect your levels of service and quality, and work together with other people that have the same vision and the same quality, the same direction. And when you get these people linked together, you create a very strong network. And so that's what we've done, is we've really focused on building the reputation, sharing it, and working together and creating products that everyone can benefit from.
I agree with you. In Panama, especially, the networking is so important, and you can get so much out of it here.
Yeah.
There are some great opportunities for networking with different forums and groups and websites and things like that. So, how did you meet Pamela? Did you guys meet here? Or
I met her in the jungle.
In
She
the
came
jungle?
down, she was coming to my Eco Adventures project, and I showed her around, and she was working on some related project, and I saw she did very good work as far as design and photography, and so we started blending some of these services together, and it just grew from there, and it's become really successful.
Awesome. So, you're planning on staying here, maybe moving around. This is going to be your home base. Panama's great. Any last pieces of advice you would like to give to our listening audience that might be considering moving to Panama?
I would say set aside expectations, expect the unexpected, bring a machete, learn the language, and more importantly, learn the people. Be patient. You know, I came here originally, I had on my business card, it said, providing solutions for efficiency and peace of mind. Working as a consultant to try to develop businesses, and that didn't last more than 2 or 3 weeks. So you have to come in with a very open mind, no preconceptions of how you think things should be done. And from there, once you really come in with a humble approach, you can really start to learn, and then you can find out how you work your way into things, and you ease into it, keep your eyes open, don't chase the money. There's lots of money floating around here, and I've seen it all waste away. So it's really important to be open-minded, keep your eyes open, and approach everything here from a growing perspective. And then you find your opportunities and doors open, and things will come together.
That's really good advice. And actually, machetes are like $3 here.
Yeah.
So everybody's got one.
Surprisingly effective. I always have one. I've had to clear the roads with it and
Drink a
crack
coconut when you get thirsty.
Exactly. It's always good to have tools handy.
Your number
And
one
a flashlight.
absolute favorite thing about Panama?
Adventure. There's always something. Whether it's a challenge or frustration, there's absolutely always something that will keep you on your toes. And for me, who I am, most people want something normal and comfortable and safe. For me, I like that challenge. I like to always have something surprising on the road, in a business transaction, anything. I don't mind the challenges so much because it keeps life interesting. So
Cool.
It's always an adventure, and that's all you can think about it. Otherwise, you end up going a little crazy. Probably.
And is there one or two things you could say that you really miss that you don't find here?
I would say probably the level of cleanliness up in North America, much of Europe. And that's slowly changing here. But it took a generation in North America to get recycling going and everything else, and it's starting to happen here. It's taking root. So I feel optimistic about it, but I would say the only thing I miss is maybe just the timeline, which is also a positive. Panama's a little bit behind the curve, and they're making their progress, as any society does as it grows, and it's getting there. But it's nice to, I go back pretty frequently, and it's nice to be back up in the States or in Europe and get back in touch with the ones that are ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah, well, knowing where the curve is going is
Yeah.
a great advantage in a place like this, because you can look at things back home and go, this would really be useful down in Panama.
Yes.
And don't reinvent the wheel, just take what's working somewhere else and bring it here where it's now needed. So I want to thank you very much, Josh, for coming and talking with me today. And fabulous interview, great advice for other entrepreneurs who are considering expatriating to Panama. And you can find Josh at
Caribbean Panama Network.
Caribbean Panama Network. And thank you very much.
All right.
And have a great weekend.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.